Yeah, thank you for actually joining us.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's a great honour.
Thanks, appreciate your time. I guess today we're swapping roles and you're under the firing line.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, being on the other side of things.
Yeah. So Oompher's all about inspiring people to achieve extraordinary things. So who and what during your life and career has inspired you?
Yeah, I guess my parents, my mum and dad, back in New Plymouth, Joan and Gordon Gower, they were always behind me, and the one thing that they really wanted when I look back is that they wanted me to go on and get to university and get a career. They didn't care what. They hadn't been to university themselves. My mum was a really, really bright and intelligent person, but she wasn't able to find opportunities in life. She never complained, but I can really remember that she really wanted me to have the opportunities that she didn't have.
Yeah.
My dad was the same. My mum was very quiet, but she had a good rapport with people, and she was very, very intelligent and a good reader. My dad is a hugely outgoing guy called the Wetter and a great raconteur. And I guess in terms of my journalism, when I look back, there are parts of my mum in terms of her analytical side, and then obviously the talkative out there side comes from my old man Gordon Gower. So my parents were really the ones that put that base in me basically to get out there and go hard and make something of myself.
Yeah, and what about, I guess, in journalism itself? Have you had some quite good mentors along the way, such as Duncan Garner, obviously, TV3 political editor before yourself? Have people like that, have you sort of learned from them as well?
Yeah, and that's one of the best things about journalism is it is a craft. It's a really, really old craft, and like all crafts, the skill is passed from one person to another, and you take bits from different people along the way. And if I look back over my 15 years in journalism, there are just guys and girls along the way who've taught me little different things and taken me under their wing. And I would say that is the best part of being in journalism. And right from when I started, Tony Wall, who's a great journalist now, an investigative journalist for the Sunday Star Times, he took me under his wing when I was a young cub reporter, called me the night train because I worked the night shift.
Yep.
And right away from Tony, each year of my career, we now track things through to Duncan Garner, who taught me television, through to right now, my boss Mark Jennings, one of the most senior journalists around, always teaching me. So there's been people along the way that have picked up and helped guide me. And there's little bits of lots of New Zealand journalists in Paddy Gower.
Yeah, good stuff. And I mean, with your study, you've obviously done journalism and politics at Vic and AUT, if I'm correct.
Yes, that's right.
So, it seems a perfect combination for what you're doing now. So did you always want to become a political journalist?
Yeah, I wasn't sure about political journalism, but I did do politics. I got interested in journalism through reading the Taranaki Daily News, and I was always interested in reading the sports section. Okay. But when I got to university, I was reading the Dominion Post and the Evening Post, which were there at that time, and I can remember my flatmates thought I was a bit of a weirdo because at about age 20 I had a newspaper subscription. Okay. So news was always there, and politics was there because that's what I did at uni.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about it is that in the first 10 years of my journalism career, I went miles away from politics. I went out and did crime, investigation, travel, the whole lot, which gave me a whole nother skill set. And then eventually, when I got to about 30, I ended back up in Parliament. I'll say this though, I'd forgotten most of my honours degree by the time I got there.
Yeah, and what I was going to say about your time in the crime sort of journalism scene is that must have been extraordinarily useful in terms of that digging and trying to find, I guess, stuff that people are trying to hide now in Parliament. Obviously, politicians trying to cover stuff up. Yeah. It must be pretty useful having had that experience.
Yeah, and one of the things about covering crime, and a big part of my early career was in covering crime, and I still have a real passion for that actually, was what you were doing in it is engaging with people from all walks of life for all different reasons, sadly a lot of the time because they've been hit or affected by a crime. But it meant that when I was a young crime reporter in Auckland, I went to every corner of Auckland, here in Parnell, out west, down south, over the North Shore, out into the rural areas, because crime happens everywhere. Yeah, exactly. And what it taught me was a really good way of engaging with people. I love to get out of the office. I love to wear out the shoe leather on my shoes. I couldn't wait to get out of Granny Hero's offices and out onto the streets of Auckland and enjoy the adventure in looking into things. Yeah. And what a lot of the time was happening is you would meet people who had never been in the media before, probably never be in it again, and you had to use your human personality effectively to get them to trust you, to help you tell your story and to establish facts. These days, when I deal with politicians, they have dealt with the media untold time. So it's a completely different skill in some senses. But in learning that and spending a lot of time, 10 years or more out in the real world, I think that has given me, great stead for at Parliament, as well as the investigative skills in terms of digging and whatnot. It's all helped build a different skill set for me, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you've obviously done print as well as television today. So you started the Herald in 1999. What are the key differences with print versus television, and what do you prefer? When you look over your whole career, what have you enjoyed the most?
Yeah, well, I like both of them. Like, I've got a huge passion for print, and I've always said to people that the difference between print journalism and television journalism is like a scalpel versus an axe. In print, you're able to be very detailed, you're able to get into the nitty gritty like you're using a scalpel. In television, you've got to throw the scalpel away. It's a lot blunter instrument, but boy, if you can get it in the right way, if you can get the axe in the right way, it's very, very effective. The problem, I guess, is that somewhere in between you need like a Makita chainsaw of journalism. That hasn't been invented yet. So it's one or the other. But I like both of them. And one of the things that has changed in my career when we look back to those 15 years was when I came into the Herald's office in 1999, and there was a computer over in the corner on a Dick Smith kind of desk, and there was a guy sitting at it, and there's a whole lot of wires coming out the back of it. And I said, "What's that?" And the person who was showing me around said, "Oh, that's the internet. We're not sure how it'll go. It's an internet site." And if you think about it, at that point, where the internet is now at in journalism compared to when I started, and it's not the longest career, it's only about 15 years, it has come an incredible long way from a very sort of suspicious looking guy on the computer, in the corner on a computer, to what the impact the internet has now. And on that, it's not like journalists in years to come, when you interview the next Paddy Gower in 15 years, they'll be experienced at using everything, because of course print, radio, television are really all going to be one on the internet, and the skills across all of them. So I'm lucky that I've been able to learn how to do both, because I think all journalists into the future will be able to do all of them, and I was lucky to just get in on the back end and have that broader skill set.
So what would be the differential skill sets? I mean, you talk about scalpel versus axe. So for someone who's going to be in print, they need to be really good at writing and incredibly detailed, versus TV, you have to think on your feet a bit more, obviously. Yeah,
I mean, one of the best things about journalism, in my opinion, is that a person can make their personality fit the type of journalism they do. Journalists can be outgoing and bullshit, and that is one way of doing things. Journalists can be quiet and accurate and dedicated to digging and be really good at it. They can make their personality fit with their craft. But there are all sorts in print journalism. Yep, you've got to be a good writer. Yes, you've got to be very accurate. In television journalism, when you're doing live performance like I do, you've got to be able to think on your feet a bit more. But in both of them, the one skill that crosses across everything in journalism is accuracy. I was taught the old-fashioned way that if you don't dot the I's and cross the T's, if you spell someone's name wrong, it doesn't matter how good your story is, because people will be able to tear it down and they'll look at that one little thing. And so across all of them, precision is the right thing. All the other skill sets can be different. You can be an outgoing guy who's great at talking on TV, or you can be someone who's quiet in the corner who knows how to look through every document. You can both be the best journalists of your kind. The one thing that you'll have in common is that you like accuracy, and the other thing is that you have a nose for a good story.
And what about bringing those two skill sets together? Do you ever get combinations of people working together with the sort of best investigative guys versus people who are just out there all the time on TV? Is that quite a rare combination?
One of the things that I liked about journalism and TV in particular is the team effort. You don't see a lot of it, unfortunately, for the viewers. They only see my mug. But there's a whole lot of people behind me, the people that edit it, the camera operators like we've got here, the guys on sound like we've got here, the producers that do the research, the people that jack everything up, that all come together, the editors that cut it together, the directors back in the studio that get the news ready, and it's a huge production to get one story by me to air every day. But what it is is a triumph of teamwork and a triumph of technology. And so when you sit back and look at that thing that has been created at the end of the day, there is a huge amount of satisfaction. I'm the lucky one with my name and face on it. There's about 10 other people who have contributed just as much as me who don't get the recognition they deserve.
Yeah.
But the teamwork side of things, getting the story to here, and even more so when you're working on big stories and you work together and you get the news out, is an immense satisfaction. In fact, it's addictive, and it's why I do the job, because I love that side of things, that camaraderie, getting the story out and journos working together. It's giving me goosebumps now talking about it, because that's what a lot of it is about for me. I really like that side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're talking before just about television and thinking on your feet. One question I've been meaning to ask is, do you? I've
got to think on my feet now, by the sounds of things.
Yeah. You're on TV and you're talking about bloody hilarious things like Coronation Street and The Sopranos in relation to Labour. Is this stuff you're thinking about just on the spot as you're talking? Does this come to your head, or is it sort of scripted stuff that you think about beforehand and remember to say when you're on TV?
Yeah, a lot of it I'll think about just beforehand. Okay. But as you can remember, as you can imagine, in a day at Parliament, really am quite busy. So once I get my story done, get down to the live cross point from the 6 o'clock cross, it might be 20 to 6 or so. And if I can think of some way of explaining something, like you've picked up there, I talk about the Labour leadership problems as like a soap opera, as like a cross between Coronation Street, because the soap opera and The Sopranos, because they're so vicious. And that was a way that I just wanted to use something common, something funny, to take what is actually just, politicians running around in the halls of Parliament and try and make it relevant to the viewers. But stuff like that, maybe 20 minutes before I go on air. Some nights you come up with the good ones, some nights you don't. If you've got a clanger, best just to go with something plain rather than go out there. Don't try and pull them off all the time.
No, that is entertaining. I was speaking to a quite high-profile media personality and sort of business tycoon recently, and what they said is that, very kindly, they had a lot of respect for it. They said they almost find your style sort of almost as like a political columnist, as opposed to sort of the standard sort of stand in front of the camera and report quite boringly the news. So is that something that you aim for, to be that sort of interesting guy that we all resonate with and feel like we know as a person, as opposed to the guy who just stands there, or the girl who stands there, and you don't really get through to them as such?
Yeah, absolutely. I try and bring a really simple style to my political journalism. I try and imagine that at the end of the day, I'm talking to my mates and telling them what happened at Parliament during the day. And my mates, good but they don't necessarily want to hear a whole lot of boring news or see me come back and hold up two press releases and say, well, this is what the government said, and this is what Labor said, and this is what the Greens said. They want to know what's going on. They want me to give my take on things, because they trust me and they say, well, Paddy, you were there all day, what does it actually mean? I try and expand that to the viewers, give them a bit of fun, give them a bit of comedy if it's there, give them a bit of drama if it's there, because Parliament is dramatic from time to time, and give them the facts. So you're right, I try and be like a political columnist who's analysing. I try and be myself, telling the story from what I've seen, but at the same time I still hang true to those journalistic tenets of being factually accurate as well. So I kind of try and mix it all together, some sort of cocktail, some sort of journalistic political cocktail.
It was like that Beltway Grant story. It was bloody funny. So do you ever get a bit of trouble sometimes for sort of digging a wee bit too much, or sort of attacking people a little bit too much? Do some of the bosses ever come to you and say, oh, you're a bit harsh on that?
Oh, once or twice a year, and a couple of times I might think to myself, oh boy, just be careful, and that's all part of it. Journalism, one thing is it's about getting right to the edge, but not going over it. So it's a tricky business. The best journalism is edgy journalism, like anything, like all the people you talk to, you have to push it. But the main thing about it is finding when you're about to go too far. Hopefully one of the bosses notices, but if they don't, it's up to you. And sort of at my level, it's up to me to sort of drag it back. But yes, if you're asking, do I get angry phone calls from politicians late at night some nights, I do. I just won't tell you from who, and I won't tell you what kind of language they use.
Yeah, and do you have quite good relationships, and do political journalists in general try and have quite good relationships with the politicians, or is that something that you try and avoid so that when something happens with someone you don't feel like you're coming down on a mate almost, you feel like you're sort of impartial and you don't really care who it is, whether it's John Key, David Cunliffe or Winston Peters or whoever, you can just come down on them, or do you sometimes feel like you know someone a bit too well that you may pass a story on to another political journalist? How does that all work?
Yeah, it's a really tricky part of it, and it always has been, and it always will be. You need to have relationships with the politicians to get stories. You need to have a professional relationship with them because you're seeing them all the time. It's, you know, like the Prime Minister, I see him nearly every day, sometimes interview him 3 times a day sometimes. So you can't be at complete loggerheads or complete opposite sides of the room or anything like that. You've got to have a relationship with them. But when you're breaking stories about them, you've got to test that. Most of the time, the politicians understand that. They understand that sometimes things are going to come their way and they're able to sort of separate that. So it's a really tricky professional relationship. Sometimes, rarely, the politician that is the target of the story will turn off completely and there will be some sort of grudge that can last some time. That happens rarely. Most of them are able to take it and then move on. But it's incredibly tricky. Personally, I've never had a situation where I have gone, I'm going to go easy on this politician because I like them or I get on with them or they've given me lots of good stories. My instincts are always just to go with the story. And it's one thing that has really driven my journalism. I don't, the story comes first for me, always has. I love stories. I get a great rush out of it. I have a huge passion for it. And I find if you follow the news, you never have to worry about being biased. You never have to worry about whether that person's not going to talk to you. You never have to worry about whether people are looking at you like you're for Labour or you're for National or anything like that. As long as you follow the news, as a journalist, you will be okay. It is a very, very pure form of doing things, and that's what I kind of stick with the story, worry about everything else later.
Do you sometimes feel that the industry as a whole can be a bit harsh on some of the politicians? I mean, we're talking to Paula Bennett recently on an interview, and she was saying how she finds it kind of sickening that I guess people are judged so harshly, politicians, and especially in terms of their past, and that sort of they get attacked on that when they're in politics. So do you reckon that the environment's become quite hostile and they do have to just be so careful, and that people aren't necessarily going into politics who would be great politicians because they're just so scared that things are going to come out and that kind of thing? What's your thoughts around that?
I think that politicians need to harden up. They get a lot of good media. They use the media. If they could use the media, they do. And you know, if they're worried about it coming back on them because of something, harden up. You know, they get into it. If you can't, it's the old story. If you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. A politician would never complain about good media coverage or anything like that. Getting a good run. But when it's bad, it's all the media's fault. But at the same time, you know, all jokes aside, the media has to rely on having people's trust. It has to rely on the readers and the viewers trust and the clickers trusting what the media does. And if the public sees us chasing people around and beating people down for no reason, they will turn off. We lose our trust. That's that. So the media has to be guided by that, and you know, sort of lynch mob mentality and something like, and that kind of thing. The New Zealand public in particular, which I think is more sophisticated than other publics in the world actually on this, would turn off the media. There would be a backlash, and we would lose our position of trust. And at that point, you kind of lose everything. So it's almost like the reading and viewing public keeps a check on the media like that. I don't think the New Zealand public would like the kind of media that we've seen in the UK, for instance. You know, we would switch off. The public would switch off instantly. So we're guided by that.
And the relationships, I guess, with the politicians is one thing. But what about with other journalists? Is it quite a I guess an environment where you're always helping each other and giving each other stories, or is it one that is quite competitive and you're always wanting to break the story and help the next guy? What's it like?
It's a mix of both. And in the press gallery, we all work in the same area. Corin Dan is just down the hallway from me, and he's a good mate of mine.
Yeah.
But of course, do I sneak around and try and break stories on him? Yes, every day. But also when we're overseas or when we're at work and there isn't a competitive tension there, we'll work together on we'll help each other out.
Yeah.
We'll swap tips or whatever and do things together. So it's there's no answer to that. It's kind of like, well, some of the time we'll work together and take it easy, and then the rest of the time, most of the time, we're trying to knock each other out or get the story over the other one. So it's a really, really funny relationship. And journalism's always been like that because we're all really similar people.
Yeah.
We're all like having a beer and a yarn about stories at the end of the day. But the only thing we like better than chatting about the yarns that we've done is scooping the other one.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that in there. It's a really bizarre setup. Your mates and competitors at the same time.
Yeah. And Paddy, what's next for you? Is the Patrick Gower show going to come sometime soon?
This might be it. Yeah. I thought this was an audition.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure what's next. I mean, this election was my first as political editor. It was my second in television and my third in political journalism. I'm 37. I would really like to do another election using everything that I've learned this time around. So if my bosses keep me on for the next 3 years, I'll be there in 2017 covering things, and after that I'll have to think about things. It probably won't be politics at that point, but I would like to stay in journalism somewhere else. If someone will have me.
Paul Henry will be getting ready to retire after that.
I don't think those guys are ever going to retire.
Yeah, so now I've just got a few quick fire questions to finish.
Sure.
Why did Don Brash call you a deceitful?
Yeah, you'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
I mean, what I've always said is, yes, bit of a but not deceitful. But I think it was, he thought I was going to ask him a question about something else, and then I asked him about another thing, but it came out of nowhere. But Don, I think you've already done him though, so you should have asked him when he was here.
Yeah. And who would be your favourite politician to break a story on?
Yeah. Any of them.
Any of them. There's none who you sort of
there's no target list or hit list or anything there. They're all on it. All 122 MPs. Watch out if you've got something to hide.
Yeah, okay. Phrased slightly differently, what politician have you dealt with that takes things the most personally? Or what some of the ones who really, when you break a story on them, they just don't take it well and they think that you're out to get them when really you're just doing your job? Are there any that are sort of terrible like that?
There's a couple, and I won't be naming them. They know who they are, and there's always time for politics is a long game. I'm not going anywhere, I'm sure they aren't either, and there's always time for the relationships to improve, I hope.
Give it time. So can you just...
I think naming them would be the end of it.
Can you just run us through a day in your sort of life? Are you always looking at the news, whether it's whether you're sort of working or not? Are you always getting up early in the morning, checking it out before you go to bed? Are you checking it out?
Yeah, absolutely. First thing, wake up, check the website, see what's breaking, turn on the radio, listen to what's happening on there. Go on Radio Live myself and do perhaps a cross in the morning before I've even jumped in the shower, or if I've just jumped out of the shower. I might be like I was this morning, going in and appearing on breakfast television and doing some analysis there. Then I'll get to work, talk to the bosses about what's happening that day. Then the politicians will arrive. Everything I've promised the bosses goes out the window as we readjust the day. Got my 2 staff with me trying to plan what they do, and then we just engage on a wild ride through politics where anything can happen on any given day, and that is one of the best things about journalism that there is that you do not know what is going to happen when you go out that front door in the morning. And then just that wild ride through till 6 o'clock. When might be live and doing a story, maybe breaking the story. It's quite a day. It's a lot of fun, and then come home and check out what the blogs have said about your stories. It's actually endless. And at some point, you've got to turn the phone off, turn the mind off, and focus on the rest of life, because it can be all consuming.
Yeah, absolutely. So hypothetically, Paddy, if you could go back to the start of your journalism career, what would be a bit of advice you'd give yourself?
Just believe in yourself, believe in your stories. Start to break 1, break 2, break 3, start to stack them together, and always enjoy it, always respect the people that you're talking to, always remember that you're basically telling someone else's stories. They're not yours. You're trusted with someone else's story. You're trusted with someone else's facts. And as long as you hold that accuracy, enjoy the adventure, you'll get 15 years into your career and it will feel like you're still on your first day, because that's how it is for me. I still have the energy, somehow, I don't know how, of the same long-haired, buck-toothed, a couple of zips on the neck guy that walked into the Herald in 1999. I still love stories just as much. So, by doing that, I've never lost my passion for it, and now I'm able to tell. And that's one of the reasons that I'm here today, is because I'm so proud to be able to tell and encourage other people to get into this wonderful profession that has given me so much, and I expect to give me a lot more.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just before we finish off, I mean, what's the difference between an average journalist and a fantastic one? Does it come back to that passion that you're talking about now? Do you have to be so passionate about what you're doing?
Well, I often go into journalism classes and I say there is nothing special about me. I have no gift. I have nothing else than the stories that I've done along the way, and all of you people out there, as 25 young journalists look up at me, actually probably have more natural ability than me. All that I've done is focus on the next story. I've made sure that I've got my current story right, and then I've looked forward to the next one, and I've enjoyed the adventure, and that's all you need to do. It's a very, very simple business if you break it down to breaking stories and enjoying the ride.
Yeah, awesome. And the 16-year-old boy you were, what would you think of who you've become today?
Yeah, I think you'd be pretty surprised.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that my mum would be pretty surprised. She's passed away now, and my dad, I know, is very surprised to see me on television that night. So yeah, I'm pretty sure, looking back at that 16-year-old boy, if I knew where I was now back then, I would have been absolutely shocked. But that just goes to show that anybody can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're an absolute hoot to watch on TV. So can you look down this camera here and tell us, what are your wise words for the people of New Zealand?
Back yourself. If you want to be a journalist, back yourself, back your stories. If you don't want to be a journalist, back yourself as well. It's the only way to get ahead.
Sweet. Paddy Gower, thanks very much.